Hello, and in this video I'm building a green office plaza or park. Now this is basically all because the new DLC is coming out on the 19th. I'm hoping this video will be out sometime on the 19th where I am. I don't have the DLC, so I'm just using all the stuff from the workshop to sort of create the green atmosphere of the DLC. Obviously I haven't played it, I've seen the trailers and stuff. I'm not sure if it's worth it. I'm probably going to get it and see what it's like. But I feel like I can create pretty much all the green stuff in cities that I want with all the stuff in the workshop by all the great creators who make all the amazing stuff that I use in every video. And it would be impossible to build cities like this without all the great creators and asset creators and stuff on the workshop. So I'll get into a little bit of what I'm doing in the video. As you can see, I'm using this building, but I really dislike the bottom of it, and I don't like the green on the roof. It's too light. So what I do is I cover it up. I use proper asphalt, and I also use like these bits of road just to raise the terrain, just to cover the not so nice looking texture. It's just too bright, and the green is way too artificial, I guess. It just doesn't look real. So as you can see here, I'm covering up the roof of the building with proper asphalt, but I actually don't use a decal. I was originally planning to use a decal on the top here, but then I remembered that King Leno had made a non-conforming planter, so I simply stuck that on the roof, and it looks really nice, a lot nicer than just decals, because it's got a sort of texture to it, which is nice. I'm also using Sparks' stairs here, and he's come out with a pack of several different types of stairs. These ones are very low and sloping, and as you can see here, I'm trying to find the right height and realise that maybe the sunken bit of the plaza was a bit too high, so I raise up the surrounding area a bit to give these stairs a bit of just substance to them. Otherwise they just didn't really look like they were necessary in this area. I also add a curve here, which I do like the curve, but I feel like this park slash green office is more angular and more I don't really know how to describe it, just more angular. So I remove that curve and add a slope staircase made out of grass, but obviously we'll get to that in a second. So this is where I realised that maybe it should be more angular as I'm angling these stairs around, and I just delete this corner and do a sort of grass staircase, which I've seen in a lot of images online. I like the idea. I'm not sure about the practicality of like grass used for stairs due to like it wearing out a lot. But who knows? This is all about going green and waiting for the new DLC to come out. So here I am using the Lost Gecko's retaining wall assets to move, well, to sort of create like the stairs, and they're quite big stairs. Like they're more like steps that you'd sit on or like have your lunch or rest. That's the sort of thing you got to remember with a plaza or a park, that there's got to be areas to sit and there's got to be areas where people can enjoy the area. Otherwise, it's pretty much pointless having it. That's it. Got to be the main focus of the plaza. Basically, the pedestrians who are inside it. So I am using green decals. I believe these are from Sparks as well. He comes out with a lot of very useful things for my builds. I can use basically everything he makes. It's all very nice and just fits in the areas very nicely. I'm making a small planter here, keeping with the angled look. But then I realised that I do need to add a planter to the other side in this gap. Go with a different technique than simply building it with Lost Gecko's retaining walls or these curb assets that I'm using right now. I use some planters who I believe are by King Leno, but it ends up looking really weird. As you can see here, this looks odd, all the overlapping white, and I just didn't like it, so I basically removed that. But I left this in just to show that I build things completely and then I just tear them down. It does depend though. If it's a big project I'm doing, I won't tear it all down, but I may tweak things. But that's that. So on this slope bit of the road up to the roof, I wanted to add a very angular sort of design. Now I tried procedural objects. Didn't work. I couldn't get the angles right, the textures were all messed up, so I used Lost Gecko's retaining wall assets again, but the triangle ones, and tried to like create a sort of slope. Now this isn't the final design what I go with, but it was an interesting design. I liked the like idea of what I was going with, but I just didn't like how it looked in the end. But I left this in just to show that you could like create some awesome like sculptures and stuff and retaining walls, and it just could look so cool, but it just didn't fit in with this design that I was doing right here. Obviously I'm tweaking a lot of these things and moving them up and away, and it does look nice. The texture is a tiny bit repetitive at times, but it's okay for what it is, which is something that it wasn't meant to be used with. So obviously the ground is still a bit slopey here, so I simply use ploppable asphalt to raise it up slightly and try and get it more level with the ground itself. So here I am using King Leno's non-conforming planters. And as you can see, it adds a very nice grass texture to the roof, which in green cities is basically on every roof, this grass texture sort of thing. I mean, it looks okay from what I can see, but I obviously haven't got close enough to have a good look at it. But I just feel like this looks very nice. It's got a nice texture. The only problem is it tends to flicker sometimes when you look at it at certain angles. And it can be a bit repetitive if you don't mix up the way the planters are looking. So I'll just go for a simple tiled look on the bottom of the floor. It did look a bit too simple. So what I did was I used Sparks decals and sort of created a grass patches in the tiles. I got this idea from looking at pretty much just pictures of I think I typed in like green cities or green plazas or something, and this is basically all over the place with just bits of grass on the tile. Now again, not really sure how well this could work because I would feel like the grass would die from a large amount of people walking over it in a large traffic area. So maybe you'd have to simply put this in a less trafficked area. Now as you can see, there was a lot of overlapping by the decals. When I first built it, I thought, oh, this is perfect, there's no overlapping. There must be something weird about Sparks decal and it doesn't overlap. I was wrong. There was a lot of overlapping, and I basically had to redo the original sort of green rectangles because they were flickering, because the decals were fighting on who wanted to be on top. And as you may have noticed, there is a funny, I say funny, there's a face within the decals. Armesto already spotted it on Twitter and screen grabbed it, but you'll be able to see in the cinematics which one was the unhappy face, because it actually isn't in this part of the build, because I found those green things too repetitive, so I changed a couple and tweaked them around. So I'm getting on to the back end of the build, and as you can see, I've constructed a bridge over the top of the roof in the corner there, and I've skipped a lot of the covering up because I covered the original walkway with decals due to just the weird way things were flickering and stuff, and I had to tweak it and change it. But in the end, it looked okay. Maybe I could have kept the original looking sort of bridge boardwalk sort of design, but this is the one I went with, and it looks very nice. Now I'm just trying to detail this end plaza. I didn't really spend much time on it because it wasn't the main focus of the build. It was just out there at the back just to fill up some space. I put a couple like food vans and planters. Now going around adding a ton of bins to the area. Never have enough bins. Keep the place clean if you've got enough bins. Now for this roof bit, there was this weird, obviously, bridge part with wood. I didn't really like how it looked, so I went with curbs and simply designed a sort of curb wall system. It would have been nice to have like a nice curvy slope, but that's not really possible with props. You could maybe do it with prop line tool, but it's very difficult. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.